On December 1st of 2015, the Project M development team officially ceased and concluded the development of Project M, a modification for Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Its final release version was 3.6. Here's what the team had to say when they announced the shutdown, which still remains on their website. Hello friends. 6 years ago, we started a journey born out of a shared love for competitive fighting games. Eventually, the electrifying passion that coursed through us arced out and drew in more people until our small circle of friends grew into a team, and that team grew into an international community. Project M and its community have grown larger than any of us ever anticipated, and it's truly heartwarming to see all of the unforgettable connections and friendships that have been forged through this project. Unfortunately, we're here to say that we're at the end of that road. We've learned so much in the process of making Project M, accumulating real-life changing lessons in communication, teamwork, professionalism, work ethic, and more. But there's only so far we can take those skills in a volunteer project. With this in mind, we've made a difficult business decision. We're ready to finish development here and move on to bigger and better ventures. We realize that this will come as a shock to many of our fans. Please forgive us. Again, it's been an excruciating call to make, but it's been made a bit easier by our satisfaction with the previous and final release, version 3.6. We've spent 6 years polishing Project M, and rather than let it drag on through another several years of dwindling development and change fatigue in the competitive circle, we're going to consider our work complete. In the meantime, we plan to be hard at work on new projects, built from the ground up. We can't spill the beans just yet, but know that we're looking towards a fresh start with brand new designs. Rather than splitting our focus, many of us want to dedicate ourselves to this new venture fully. In this way, we hope to maintain the level of quality and professionalism you've come to expect from us. In summary, we are ceasing development of Project M immediately, and will be making no further releases as we turn our attention towards an entirely new venture. As the PM dev team will be formally disbanded, please forward all official communications regarding Project M to video game attorney and business consultant Ryan Morrison. We appreciate your support and your understanding. One final time, PM Dev, thank you for playing. The team of Project M, after 6 years, have finally ended their journey with the mod and haven't looked back on it. But what they left behind was something far greater than what they expected to be. Before there was Project M, there was Brawl. And before there was Brawl, there was Melee. The community for Melee was still young, but still developing into what we know it as today. What with all the trash talk, trying to find out which coast was better, with and from all around the world, including Japan, and just the great competitive atmosphere, it truly was something for the world to see. Since 2002, Melee had become a sport as it would seem to be, but not on the scale it is on today. Everyone in the Smash community knows this story. The first tournament established, the rise of Azin, Ken, and Isaiah, the competition all around the world, East Coast versus West Coast. Quite honestly, I can't really do it justice. You would have to watch the Smash Brothers documentary by Samox. I suggest you watch it because it really does a great job explaining what Melee is. In the year of 2006, after being in the professional circuit of MLG for about 2 years, and after MLG Las Vegas 2006, MLG had removed Melee from the competition. A very upsetting move by Major League Gaming, prompting Melee's players to return to the underground, from whence they came. Foregoing the upset, in the same year, Nintendo had suddenly shown the light to the players of Melee, who were once again in the shadows. This light was the trailer for Super Smash Bros. Brawl. It was a gleam of hope in the eyes of Melee's players, and it was no longer dark in the underground realm that was Melee. In the following years to Brawl's release, Melee was able to find one more spot on the national scale when it came to the tournament scene, and that was Evolution 2007, or EVO as we know it now. It was during this tournament that we saw the entrance of new blossoming players such as Mango and Mewtwo King fight against the kings of old, such as Ken, Chillin' Dude, and Chudat. In the end, Ken, who is still known as the King of Smash today, came out on top with a prize of $5,000. Yet after that, there was nothing. No major tournaments to be seen anywhere, just locals and Smash Fests. 1 year had passed, and soon, it was time for a brawl to end it all. March 9th, 2008. Super Smash Bros. Brawl is released and everyone is trying to get their hands on it. The game had an overwhelmingly positive reception by both critics and fans alike, and it was so much fun. The story mode was engaging, there were so many characters, it was like Melee 2.0. But I think this clip from the Smash Bros. Documentary perfectly encapsulates the entire competitive Melee scene's reaction towards Brawl.
We're playing it. And we're playing it. And we're playing it.
It didn't wow me like right off the bat, and I was kind of worried about that. At least from a more Melee perspective.
It was so slow, not what we expected at all.
We tried to make it fun, I guess, but after a while, after a few months, it became clear that like the engine was just designed to really reward defensive play.
There's just like little room for like combos, like exciting match play, whereas it's more like just like who gets hit less.
Everything that made Melee great, the combo system with hit stun, the various movement options, it had all been lost in translation.
Brawl essentially became the great divide amongst players in the entire Smash community and caused so much controversy for its slow nature. You couldn't really do combos in the game. The techniques that made Melee so fast had completely vanished, such as wave dashing and L canceling, and the gameplay was, once again, just disgustingly slow. Sakurai wanted this game to give everyone a chance to win, and we all understand how Sakurai designs these games as party games, right? But that's not how it works. I'm going to paraphrase Milk Tea here by saying this. Gaming has gotten to the point where it is now because of the hardcore and competitive audience. That is no joke. So as Brawl's popularity was rising, Melee was declining. Everything was about Brawl. It didn't matter how the game played, it was still Smash, and that's why everyone was still excited to play it, because of the root of its identity. Anytime a Smash Bros. Game gets announced, there will always be hype for it. Just look at the two most recent titles. Have you seen the hype and excitement surrounding these two? But that wasn't the point. During this age, known as the Dark Age, Melee was completely dominated by Brawl, which now it would seem impossible for that to be the case. There was only one Melee major in sight, and that was Pound 3, but even then, nothing more in 2008. I bet you that even the local scenes had a Brawl majority. No longer was this a decline. It seemed like Melee was going to die out and fade into obscurity. That seemed to be the case, and truly I believe this was a sad time for a lot of Smash players because nobody wanted to play Melee. This game that had made them into who they are and had brought them together with friends that they had yet to actually meet. But in 2009, one event seemed to be the key for a revival of the Fallen King. March 7th and 8th, 2009. 1 year has passed since Brawl had released, and Melee players were revving up their engines to go to their first Melee major after a year. It took place in Nanuet, New York. It was called the Revival of Melee. It was here that we witnessed one of the greatest sets in all of Melee's history. Shiz versus the robot Mewtwo in Losers Finals. There was also the Major of Genesis in 2009, where we saw two nations collide in one of the most hype battles in Melee that the world had ever seen. The Scorpion Master of America, Mango, and the Swedish Sniper, Armada. We finally see Melee coming back into the spotlight, and it was coming back in full swing. But during this time, there was a new scene that emerged when the Brawl scene was sprouting. The Wii in itself was a strange console during its time of existence. It opted for lesser graphics while also giving you the chance to view media off of an SD card. The controller was pretty funky, but you still had backwards compatibility with the GameCube, which, mind you, had similar power to the Wii. But it was during this time that a group of people had emerged to make the Wii even better than it already was. During this time, a team of people known as Team Tweezers had emerged. The team had consisted of Seger, Timbink, Costas, and Ads, and the one who lives on as a legend, Ben Bushing Bayer. They were trying to find a way to find the keys to the inner workings of the Wii, and to load homebrewed software from there, and did so in the most unorthodox way possible, using a pair of tweezers. This was known as the Tweezer attack, an exploit that involved the use of a pair of tweezers to bridge areas of memory, allowing homebrew code running in GameCube mode to have access to limited sections of Wii memory in order to map out the rest of the console a small piece at a time. Ben details how the discovery helped progress the newfound homebrew in an interview in 2008. Nintendo includes the newest version of the system software on almost every Wii game. If you're running on an older version of the software, it will let you upgrade using the disc. So we were able to get a mostly full copy of the software used to do everything on the Wii. But it was strange because it didn't work at all when we tried to disassemble it as PowerPC code. And then we discovered it was actually ARM code. We couldn't see this chip anywhere on the Wii board, so we eventually figured out it's buried inside the graphics chip. The graphics chip's name is Hollywood, so Seger named it the Starlet. It performs all of the security for the Wii, and also controls almost all of the peripherals. It's the enemy. With respect to the specific chips and the Tweezer attack, it might help to refer to this photo. You can see there U1, the Hollywood. Note how it's the biggest chip, it contains the Starlet core. U2 is the Broadway, and U3 is the RAM chip. It's possible to run GameCube games on the Wii, and people have long been able to run homebrew code in GameCube mode. Unfortunately, this turns off most of the interesting hardware on the Wii, specifically anything that wasn't present on a GameCube. However, this does allow you to see 25% of the RAM chip, U3, by shorting various address lines underneath U3 on the opposite side of the board. We're able to fool the Hollywood into shifting that 16 megabyte window of GameCube memory around the 64 megabyte of that RAM chip. It's notable that the Hollywood is the one that interfaces with the RAM chip, not the Broadway, because it's actually the Starlet doing this. The Starlet limits the amount of memory you can use in GameCube mode. The Starlet also happens to use some of that memory for its own purposes, including storing the encryption keys. So we tricked the Starlet into giving us part of its secret memory in GameCube mode. So in short, these guys opened up the can of worms that would become the Wii homebrew scene. Their first notable demonstration of homebrew, in a sense, was at the annual 24C3 Hacker Conference, with an altered copy of LEGO Star Wars to display Wii remote data in real time, of which no video exists. The second one was the Twilight hack, the true kickoff to the scene. An exploit found in the save system for Twilight Princess on the Wii version led to the next step of homebrew, the release of the Twilight hack, which could load executables containing custom code compiled against libogc. The Twilight Princess exploit worked by using a modified save file containing a name for Link's horse which was long enough to cause a buffer overflow, pointing to a memory address which contained the loader code. Eventually, this would all lead to the collaborative effort to create the homebrew channel and Boot Me. When this occurred, the floodgates for mods in the Wii's library had been cracked open, and we saw several notable mods, such as Brawl Plus. What? You never heard of Brawl Plus? Well, this is something you might want to hear. In an effort to try and make Brawl more competitive and maintain its scene while Melee was returning back to the spotlight, a group of unknown developers at the time used whatever tools that they had in front of them to mod the game and make Brawl good enough for the Melee players by changing up the physics and rebalancing the roster. This project was known as Brawl Plus and lives in infamy to this day because of its mysterious nature. Although its development start date was never clear, we can presume that Brawl Plus's development started right after the great homebrew boom of 2008 to 2009. The game was packed with several tweaked features and physics changes. No more random tripping, the new character selection screen, faster fast falling, automatic L canceling, higher hit stun. This was looking to be the true sequel to Melee, and hype was building. It was a niche mod and so controversial and developed its own little scene. But the intention of the game was never clear. Within the team, there was so much antagonization directed towards each member by other members because of this unclear intention. This was the first mod in the Brawl scene, and certainly not the last. Yet it left such a strange footprint in Smash Bros. History, and nobody ever really talks about it. The last build was released in 2010, version 7.0.3. and development was ceased due to such reasons beyond our control. However, it was because of this mod that the Brawl hacking scene still exists today and offers so much to us who want to be able to see something different. However, after the fallout of Brawl Plus's team, most of the team was able to regroup under a new name. Beginning in 2010, this regrouped team started work on a new project, one with similar physics to that of Melee and Brawl Plus. They called this project M, which is presumably short for Melee. Eventually, the project codename was not just the name of the mod. The team named themselves the PMBR, short for the Project M Backroom, and began with re-engineering Falco to better reflect his Melee counterpart. The designer's goal at the time was for the game to be accessible to newcomers and encourage people to get better at the game, which was accomplished by creating a character roster that is more balanced. The mod's first demo, which was announced on January 15th, 2011, with a release date of late January or early February in the time for the Pound 5 tournament where it was featured. It featured 14 of the 39 characters in Brawl, as well as new stages Brawl had not included. It was later given a solid date of February 7th, 2011. A patch was later created to fix the demo's bugs and fine-tune the player's control of their movement direction after being attacked, aka the DI. By the release of the game's second demo in March of 2011, the team's goals for the mod had expanded to a total overhaul of Brawl to better match Melee's gameplay. A newer build added 11 characters and was first playable at the Genesis 2 tournament. The second demo, released on April 15, 2012, added 4 new characters as well as more stages and changes in multiple characters' gameplay mechanics. Players of the second demo reported a number of bugs, but these were fixed shortly after in version 2.1. A demo version, number 2.5, was announced on September 10, 2012. It featured changes such as balance updates, aesthetic improvements, stage updates, and palette swaps for the characters. Version 2.5 was released on December 28th. And somewhere along the road, the PMBR became the PMDT, the Project M development team. This signified the evolving of Project M as not just some mod anymore, it was an effort by people who were passionate about Brawl scene as a competitive game, who also loved Melee just as much. They wanted Brawl to be just as competitive as Melee was and is. This was a community effort towards a mural that would be beautiful. With Brawl Plus, it was a mod, just that, and it is still considered just that. but in reality it was the predecessor to Project M. It's what started the new era of Smash Bros. Before Smash 4 came out. It's like a father and his son. Brawl Plus hands a childlike Project M his physics, techniques, and tweaked gameplay. This was Brawl Plus's legacy. This is what Brawl Plus was for, and its intention was blinded by the constant antagonization of the team against itself. If Brawl Plus never came to be, heck, if Team Tweezers and the Tweezer attack didn't exist, Project M wouldn't be a thing, and it would have changed the course of Smash's history. And if it still could exist in this alternate timeline, it probably would have been in a different manner, probably as some sort of private project that would have been funded by other people and or sources. It probably would have been sold on the streets as an illegal copy of Brawl, and only for those who would pay the highest price for a truly competitive Brawl. Moving forward with Project M as an art piece, it was only during 2.5b's release in January of 2013 and subsequent updates afterwards that the tournament scene for Project M really developed and blossomed, as we saw players from Melee like Mew2King, Hungrybox, Chillin' Dude, and Armada just dominate the scene. The first notable tournament that featured Project M that can be found on YouTube is Zenith 2013, with Mew2King while he was still employed with Clash tournaments going up against Wizrobe when he was just 15, and a stunning victory by Wizrobe, I'll tell you that much.
Look, he only beat me because of Wi-Fi.
Oh.
He only beat me. Ow!
I'm about to go on. You know, if I win against DJ, I gotta play Wizard. I might as well just forfeit. There's no point to this. Oh! What the f? Oh!
Sonic's the name.
Oh!
Project M became a sensation years afterwards with appearances at Apex 2014, SKTAR 3, CEO 2014, The Big House 4, and Beast 5. All the hype was being led up to the coming releases of Project M in the future. 3.7, 4.0, 5.0, 6.0. Who would have been added to the roster? What changes would have been made to the gameplay? And then, it happened. On the morning of December 1st, 2015, the Project M development team changed their website around to display a message. A message that is still quite saddening to read to this day. As I read at the beginning of the video, the PMDT announced that they would no longer work on Project M, and that they have officially ceased development for the mod. What happened? Why did Project M have to shut down, especially when it still had so much more potential as a mod? Well, it comes down to just one simple answer. Legal issues. Legal issues were the main cause for Project M to be shut down. But as far as we know, the PMDT never got into any legal trouble. Not with Nintendo, not with Sakurai, nobody. So why was this the reason? Well, one of the former members of the PMDT, who is currently unknown, said that it was to prevent any future legal issues with Nintendo. So in an effort to save Project M from becoming the victim of legal assault by Nintendo, the PMDT shut down Project M before anything could happen. A brave move, and one that must have taken a lot of heart, as well as to give up 6 years of work. But this wasn't the end of Project M, no, it was another beginning. A renaissance, or a rebirth if you will. Even after Project M's development death, there was nothing stopping it from showing up at tournaments like Smash and Splash 2 EVO 2016, which is sponsored by Nintendo by the way, Clutch City Clash, and Olympus. At this point in time, after Project M's development death, the competitive scene had a renaissance, and it still persists to this day, with dominant players like Thunder's Reign, Professor Pro, and Lunchables. As well as that, it was because of Project M that more special builds and mods of Brawl exist. Like for example, there's the website Brawl Vault that contains a vault of builds and mods specifically for Brawl, as well as mod.pm. For example, there's mods like Brawl Minus, which intentionally buffs all the characters to extremes, and it's quite fun to watch. Smash Bros. Infinite, which is more of a meme, and Smash 2, a mod using Project M as a base and tries to model everything in the game to look more like Melee, including character portraits, the in-match UI, and even the character selection screen. But there's one team that reigns above them all, and that is the Smash Bros. Legacy team. I've previously made a video on their most notable mods, Smash Bros. Legacy XP and TE, both very incredible mods, and we just have to give credit to the team who made them. XP and TE both have the intention of expanding the potential of Project M in two different ways, one for fun and one for tournaments. If you haven't seen my video on the two, you can check them out in the description, but the video is old, so maybe don't. I do suggest that you grab your copy of Brawl, homebrew your Wii, and download these mods though. In short, Project M was a dream and a legend that still remains in all of our hearts, even though the development has officially ended. But there was still something that we enjoy so much to this very day. It's been almost 3 years since their development has ended, and look at where we are now, still kicking it with a project that made Brawl competitive.